Who are the top 10 quarterbacks to start a franchise with? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch, back with another NFL reaction video. In this video, I am reacting to a top 10 from Fox Sports, a top 10 from Danny Parkins, who's taking the spot of Colin Cowherd. We already reacted to a Jason McIntyre list as well, and now we're here to react to Danny, who I've never reacted to ever. I've never watched a show from him, but he has a top 10 list, and I thought this was an intriguing, interesting top 10 to react to. The 10 quarterbacks that you would want to build around starting in 2024. So this includes youth, this includes contract, this includes longevity. This includes, of course, talent. And I also made a list very similar to this. I wonder if they're copying. But I did the top 10 quarterbacks that I would want for the next 10 years. So a very similar list that I already made. So it's intriguing to kind of compare our lists. So let's react to the video, see what Danny has to say, and I'll give you my thoughts on his list. I haven't seen this yet. Gronk, spike the like button if you want more NFL reactions just like this. And of course, let me know in the comments what you guys think of Danny's list. So let's get to the reaction. All right.
Would not be the herd without a list. Love making lists. And so decided before we get to Rick Bucher here, I'm going to do
I love making lists
top
too.
10 quarterbacks that I would start a franchise with. Now this is, age is a factor, contract is a factor, talent is a factor. So you're starting a franchise today. Every quarterback is available. You're trying to win this year, but also be good for the next decade.
Basically my list, and basically what I just explained. Youth, contract, how good is the player? You want to win right now, but you want to win long term. Okay, very nice, Danny.
That's the parameter for this list. Let's begin.
At number 10.
One.
Oh, number 1. Okay. I hate how they go number 1 first. What is that, bro? How did you even know how to make a list? Anyways,
when John
number 1.
Elway was up for the Hall of Fame,
I guess it's a little bit less interesting if you go 10-1, just because I guess Patrick Mahomes is super obvious. Let's see what he has to say.
the guy stood up and said, John Elway, and he sat back down. I will just say Patrick Mahomes, and I'm already seated, but you get the point.
Okay, so he didn't even explain that one. I will say with Patrick Mahomes, isn't he like probably one of the older players on this list? So I guess that would be maybe the only point of contention with his ranking on the list. But it's not like he's too much older than Josh Allen, who is his number 2, and we'll get to that in a second. But I would say that the thing that will define Patrick Mahomes in terms of where he will rank all time at the end of his career is basically like, how does he perform post Travis Kelce and post Andy Reid? That's basically the only question he has to answer for the rest of his career. But otherwise, you know, he is the clear choice at number 1 because you would think that he'll at least play at a pretty high level until 35, 36 years old. After that, we don't really know how quarterbacks may perform depending on the player or the injuries and stuff like that. Mahomes has mostly remained healthy, but I would say that out of, you know, most of the quarterbacks, I definitely don't think that he's a Brady or a Breeze in terms of the level of attention to the body, I would say, clear by the ice cream pictures. But I would also say that he has the talent to last a very long time, and potentially into his 40s. It's up to him how long he wants to play. At number two,
Josh Allen. I think he's the second best player in football. Led the NFL in total touchdowns last year, regular season, postseason with 51, 10 more than any other quarterback.
You hear that, Josh Allen haters?
He was the offense. They're going to give him more of a running game to make it a little bit more balanced. I don't think the Stephon Diggs injury will be too bad, but again, it's just about...
It's not an injury. He got traded, Danny, but I understand what you're saying. I think you just made a mistake, but I will say he is 100% accurate on the Josh Allen analysis. Got to give him credit for that. Number 2, clearly, I will say that with Josh Allen, there comes a little bit more risk with injury just because of how much he runs and the way that he plays, and potentially his body could deteriorate pretty quickly. But you know what's funny? I was actually watching some John Elway highlights, came across the X feed the other day, and I'm like, this looks exactly like Josh Allen. It's actually kind of funny. So maybe we see a late career couple Super Bowl wins, maybe, from Josh Allen. Maybe if he gets another coach or something like that. We'll see. That's kind of what happened to John Elway, but I don't know, just saying.
The talent, and other than Mahomes, he's the most talented player at the most.
I would say he's more talented than Mahomes. I know that's crazy. Mahomes is a better player, don't get me wrong, but in terms of pure talent, I think that Allen is actually more talented.
Significant position.
Number three.
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert.
This is an eye test thing.
Okay.
He doesn't have the...
I'm going to say something before he goes, and then I'll let him explain. I don't like this ranking. I would not have Justin Herbert third. I think I'd have him closer to fifth or sixth, personally, just because I like Herbert. Don't get me wrong. Great passer, prototypical quarterback. I think he could fit into any offense with any coaching staff. And yeah, I think he's going to have eventually some success in the playoffs and win a lot of games. I think he hasn't been supported by the best situation, coaching-wise or roster-wise, but I do feel like he's missing some of the factors that I would look for in my franchise quarterback that I think others that will be behind him on the list have over him. Like, I just feel that he has not had a signature moment in his career yet in terms of a huge win or a marquee moment in the playoffs or anything that makes you scream, this guy has it. I would say that he's very talented by the eye test, as I think Danny's going to talk about here. But I would also say that his leadership skills, I think, leave something to be desired. He's not my type of quarterback in terms of that department of the pure fire and the willing of the team to victory. I think in your quarterback, you need a fiery personality, and I think Justin Herbert's a little bit underwhelming. I kind of compare Herbert to Stafford, where I feel like they both were very talented for long stretches of time. They played for underwhelming coaching staffs, underwhelming franchises, and eventually, I think the right thing will click with a coach, potentially Jim Harbaugh, like with McVay for Stafford, where that coach can take on that big leadership and point of the franchise where they can direct that guy to the success of the Super Bowl. But I think Herbert is one of those quarterbacks that is extremely talented, but needs kind of the help off the field in terms of that leadership. But that's just me. I would also say that I would like him to play a little bit more loose and a little bit more creative than he does. I think he's a little bit too structured and within the lines, and I think that at times costs him in some big games. But that's just me.
The playoff win.
Let me know your opinion.
Okay, fine. But it's like the Uncle Rico. The guy could throw the ball over the mountain. He is so smart, so accurate. He could beat you with precision. He could beat you with big plays. He is everything you want in a franchise quarterback. And I think with the Harbaugh pairing, he's now going to start winning big. Harbaugh's won at every level. There is no doubt in my mind that Justin Herbert is a franchise quarterback who can win big and is one of the best, most talented players in all of football.
I don't really disagree with anything he said there. I would just say that I think the Jim Harbaugh winning with Herbert is going to take a little bit more time than a lot of other people think. I think it's going to take probably at least a year. I don't think they're winning anything this year, but we'll see.
Number 4.
Number 4, CJ Stroud, who would maybe be my number 3, but definitely my number 4. I think CJ Stroud, again, I've said it many times. I said it on my quarterback rankings. Some people think I've ranked him too high prematurely, but I will say I even saw a stat that I wasn't even aware of. I think it was yesterday on ESPN. They showed a stat that, quarterbacks to lead the NFL in touchdown interception ratio and throw for over 4,000 yards in a single season. And it was like only 4 guys that have ever done it in the NFL. And one of them was like 07 Tom Brady. One of them was like 2020 like Aaron Rodgers or something. Like the best quarterbacks of the best quarterbacks. And he did it as a rookie. And he took a franchise that nobody thought was going to do anything last year. And they won double-digit games. They made the playoffs. They won a playoff game in which they were underdogs, I believe. So, I mean, yeah, like, this guy is for real. And I think the difference for me between Herbert and Stroud, which somebody commented, shout out to that commenter on my QB rankings video, because they were kind of like, I'd put Herbert slightly above Stroud, but I kind of understand what you're saying. And I just basically said the difference for me is I think the creativity that I don't see in Herbert within the escaping structure, finding lanes to throw, finding that scramble lane. I'm not saying Herbert doesn't do that, but the differences in arm angles, release points, touch on the football in those scenarios, I think Stroud far exceeds. And I also think that Stroud has more of a personality to kind of carry the team. And we saw that instantly. You know, you could even compare rookie seasons. Like, Herbert had great stats, but he did not win a lot of games. And really the difference there to me is, like, I don't think Herbert was ready to lead a team. He was ready to throw for yards in the NFL level. But to me, like, Stroud had that extra bit of beyond his years where he was already the man in that franchise. And that's just different to me.
Stroud. Now, this is the guy who's accomplished the least of the guys in the top 4. But that rookie season, you think of great rookie seasons in NFL quarterback history. You think Andrew Luck, you think RG3, you think Cam Newton, you think Justin Herbert. You now have to think CJ Stroud. He won a playoff game. He threw for over 4,000 yards. You could have counted the
He actually led the NFL in yards per game. That's something he also did.
Receptions that he had last year on one hand, taking care of the ball, but still having the big play capability. People weren't talking about Tank Dell before the season. The Texans might have found the guy that can take good player, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. They're clearly good, but he made them great. So that's a really special trait in a quarterback. And he didn't blink come the playoffs. CJ Stroud at number 4.
I don't know how you just make that argument and don't put him ahead of Herbert. I'm going to be honest.
Number 5.
At number 5, Lamar Jackson. Okay, I mean, this one, I don't really need to debate. The only thing with Lamar is, like, just the style he plays. I mean, being a very run-heavy style of quarterback. I'm not saying he can't succeed as only a passer, but that's not what makes him special. So I would say that building around Lamar, you have to do a lot for that to actually happen, because you have to commit to his style of play. You also have to let Lamar be Lamar in terms of on and off the field. And I would say that you can certainly win Super Bowls with him. I think he should win one in his career. He's had a couple opportunities already and come up short in the playoffs and has not performed the best in the playoffs, which is the biggest argument against him. But he is a 2-time MVP, and I think he's what, 27? So he's still pretty young, but I do wonder how his game will age.
Lamar Jackson. Now, he's expensive, and you don't know how it's going to age, but you absolutely know that when you get him, as long as he is healthy and in his athletic prime, which should be still years to come, he's one of the toughest players in the world to game plan for. The passing improved. It should only get better second year in the new offense. Still needs to do better with more receivers around him. Zay Flowers was, I thought, disappointing last year. Lamar has to bear some weight.
Zay Flowers was disappointing. Okay, hold up, bro. He was better than, first round receivers. Who was in the first round? Quentin Johnston, bust. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Zay Flowers was better. Jordan Addison, I guess that's debatable, but Zay Flowers who is the best player in the AFC Championship game? Come on. That's not a good statement. That's an L.
Wait for that, though. I thought more of it was on lack of precision from Zay Flowers. But he's the youngest two-time
MVP. What is with the Zay Flowers stuff? Come on.
Ever. He's a dominant regular season player who hasn't gotten it done in the postseason yet, but eventually that regular season success will carry over.
Number
You hope.
6.
Okay, this is the one I really don't like, having Joe Burrow at 6. I think that's way too low. I don't know why you would want, do people just forget, how good Joe Burrow is? I actually think people forget how good Joe Burrow is. I think people think of Joe Burrow and they just think of, statuesque pocket quarterback who has, an average arm. But let me remind you, he's one of the best scramblers in the league in terms of creating outside the pocket. He's also one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league. He's definitely one of the best in terms of the aura factor. And he's also one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. I think there's a strong argument he is the most accurate quarterback in the league. And he's only, 28? So, I mean, all these guys are about the same age, which is kind of interesting, except for CJ Stroud, which I think is another reason you would move CJ Stroud maybe up the list, because it depends how long you're trying to keep these guys for and build your franchise around them for. But I guess he's been injured quite a bit, but so is Lamar. So I don't really see kind of the difference there. And I don't know how you would put Herbert above Burrow personally.
Joe Burrow. I mean, this one's easy. If he's healthy, they win. If he's healthy, they're in the AFC Championship game. They're in the Super Bowl. He's only played 4 years. You got a long prime left. Crazy accurate.
If he's healthy, they're in the AFC Championship. If Herbert's healthy, what? Do you win 9 games?
Unbelievable winner in college and the pros. There's no question Joe Burrow's a franchise quarterback.
Number 7.
This is where the list starts to get interesting. And at number 7, he has Caleb Williams. I don't know about that. As I've mentioned before, there's a quarterback that likely will not be on this list that has been drafted in the same draft class as Caleb Williams that I think might have a better career. And that man is Drake May. And I don't expect Drake May to be on this list because I don't think Danny knows. He doesn't know about Drake May. But if you watch the Bottom Line View, he would know. So it's not really his fault. But Caleb Williams, I think, will be very good. I just wonder if he'll be great. And I would be worried about, the personality to a certain degree. It's kind of red flaggy to me. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. I think he's really fun to watch. I think he's very much Kyler Murray, which again, that's a lot of talent, but that's also not a lot of results so far. So we'll see how Caleb works out. Certainly he's in a phenomenal situation, but you're not looking to bring the situation with him. You're looking to put him on a normal team with the same players, right? That's the whole point of the video. So I don't know. What do you guys think of Caleb being on the list? I feel like some people will comment, oh, he's too prematurely on the list. I did the same thing because you're trying to project, right? You're trying to draft these players. So these guys would be involved in the draft. So, taking somebody that's been average or a little bit above average for most of his career, like let's say Jared Goff over Caleb Williams, I think would be not the point of what you're trying to do. You're trying to shoot for the stars. And I certainly see that with Caleb, but I also feel like there might be a couple more guys I'd be willing to take ahead of Caleb. So
I got Caleb Williams. Sorry,
Oh,
Ashley.
boy.
I know you're a doubter.
I'm a
But I mean,
doubter.
this is one of those talented quarterbacks we've
Ooh.
seen coming into the
What's the
NFL in a
girl's
long
name?
time. He enters a great situation. Again, this is QB only, but I'm taking talent. I'm taking
the girl's
upside
a doubter, bro. I don't know her name
and
though.
rookie contract.
She's new.
If every quarterback was available to be drafted, he would definitively be a top 10 pick, and it would be based on potential. He's obviously accomplished less than nothing in the NFL, but the upside and the cost, too valuable not to have it this
Yeah,
spot.
I will say that is a factor. If you're going to involve contract in this, then obviously rookie quarterbacks should be on the list, or at least a couple of them. There's also one quarterback that right now this year is extremely cheap, who has not been on the list yet and has just been to a Super Bowl. And I think you know who I'm talking about. He's like the 40th highest paid quarterback in the league. He's not even on the list.
Number
You're going
8.
to involve contract.
It's basically the exact
Okay, Dak
different
Prescott
argument.
at number 8, yeah. That's too high. Just because of the money that he costs. Dak has been a good quarterback for his entire career. I think he's shown flashes of playing at a very high level, like last year for a majority of the season, where, again, I've said it many times, I think he led the NFL in touchdown passes, and he was second in MVP votes, but he's never proven to carry the team in the playoffs in the biggest moments. He's often come up short, and I would just say on top of that, he costs you a ton of money. He's never been willing to take less than he deserves. He's very much closer to Kirk Cousins than Patrick Mahomes, so I don't really know why I wouldn't have Dak on this list. No.
Than Caleb Williams. Dak Prescott.
Not if especially if we're not including contract.
He's 30. He's in his prime. He's about to be really expensive. He'll be the first $60 million per year man in NFL history. But
This music is really catchy.
you're getting a top 10 quarterback. Now,
Do we know?
Has he had his moments in the playoffs? Of course. Have we seen him without a number one receiver? We haven't. He had Des Bryant, he had Amari Cooper, he's had CeeDee Lamb.
Actually, I would argue we have seen him without a number one receiver. It was at the end of Des Bryant's career where Des was not that good anymore. He was slow, he couldn't separate, and that was Dak's worst season of his career, by the way.
But this guy produces. They led the league in points. He led the league in touchdown passes. He's not just handing the ball off and being super conservative. He'll push the ball down the field. He'll work it to the middle of the field.
Okay, enough on Dak.
Prescott.
Enough
Number
on
9.
Dak. Let's get
This one's tough for me as a Bears fan.
Jordan Love. I like this pick. I do think he should be on the list. He's not too expensive, although he has to get paid faster than most quarterbacks that we've only seen for a year, because Jordan Love was already a rookie forever. So, or on a rookie contract forever, because he was sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. But Jordan Love has talent. I'm not sure about the Jordan Love personality department. I don't really know too much. He's very kind of laid back, in my opinion. Kind of similar to Justin Herbert in a way. But he showed up in the big game against the Cowboys. And like I said in a previous video, he was big time against the Chiefs last year, against the Lions on Thanksgiving last year, right? Primetime spots against the Cowboys in Dallas, multiple games on the road. The Niners, he was good for the first half of the game, and then the rain had a big effect there. But, I don't really blame him for losing to the Niners. He could have played better at the end of the game. But being that it was his first ever season as a starter and what he accomplished with 30-plus touchdowns and that run at the end of the season, I think Love certainly deserves a spot on this list. I would put him ahead of Dak for sure.
But Jordan Love, isn't it a little sickening that the Packers maybe did this 3 times in a row and went from Favre to Rodgers to Love?
They
and
did
the guy
it.
just holds the ball down there at his waist like Rodgers did it.
So the Packers did it 3 times in a row, but I don't know if I'm willing to say Love is going to be a Hall of Famer. I think he's going to be a good quarterback for a long time, but is he going to be Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers? I think that's pretty crazy.
Flicks it with a little flick of the wrist and it goes exactly where he wants it to go, and he does the little ball fakes. Frankly, it's disgusting. But he's excellent. He finished the season 23 touchdown passes, a 112 passer rating in his last 10 games. Looks like he's going to be
Number 10.
This one was tough.
Ooh.
There we go. Trevor Lawrence, too many turnovers.
Trevor Lawrence at number 10. I don't know about that one. I think that there's an argument, I guess, just based on the talent. But Brock Purdy, not on the list. Brock Purdy's accomplished more than Trevor Lawrence already. He was nearly the MVP last year. I understand he has Kyle Shanahan. He's on a great team, but okay, no Brock Purdy. You look at Trevor Lawrence's stats again, and I think he's about to have a great year. But that's a little bit of a projection from me. The last couple years, he's in line with Mac Jones for his career, right? They've had the same career so far, essentially. They both made the playoffs once. They both lost in the playoffs. Otherwise, they've been pretty underwhelming. So this is a lot based on reputation, and I guess arm strength and size and things like that, but skill, I guess. But he just got paid big time. So you're taking on that contract, which I'm not sure he's worth. There's guys like Jalen Hurts who have accomplished more and are still young. Guys like Kyler Murray, who I think you could argue are just as talented as Trevor. And then there's Drake May, who I brought up already, but call me crazy. I think Drake May will be a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. I think I would take Brock Purdy too. And I think it's debatable between him and Hurts, but I think some would take Hurts just for his off the field traits alone. So let's see what he says about Lawrence.
But there's been turnover with coaching and skill position group. He clearly looks the part. He finished last season strong. The arm talent is ridiculous. I finally, Brian Thomas Jr. with Christian Kirk, with Ingram, with ETN. It's a better group around him, even though they lost Calvin Ridley, but it's a deep group.
Okay, but are we drafting the group of players or are we drafting the player? Because if we're drafting the group of players, why would Brock Purdy not be on the list?
If not now, when? But I still think Trevor Lawrence would be up there.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin.
All right, Uncle Colin. All right, see you later, guys. That's it. That's my take on his list. You guys let me know. So basically, the way I would put it is I would say Brock Purdy, Drake May, Jalen Hurts, could debatably be on the list. I'd take Dak Prescott out. I'd take Trevor Lawrence out. I'd manipulate the list. I thought Joe Burrow was too low. But otherwise, it wasn't a bad list. Justin Herbert was a little bit too high. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching this. Another NFL reaction. And we'll see you in the next one. Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe. Peace.